All right, folks, welcome to your lesson for Wednesday. This is kind of the second half of 9.1. So we're still working on completing the square. Again, this does not need to click day one, but I do need to make sure like you guys have a list somewhere, you have some way to remember the process. So the first two problems on here, I'm going to do all the odds in this lesson, and you guys can either pause the video and do the evens or just wait till the end and go back and do all the evens, whatever. The first one is just going to be our refresher on how do I do this process. All right, so step number one is always check your x squared term. Do I need to divide, that's a B, not a D. Do I need to divide by any coefficients? If not, then you move on to step number two. Step number two is isolate all of your variable terms. Again, these should already be in your notebook. You can use the shorthand, okay? That can help too. So I need to isolate by adding over 72. That's going to give me x squared plus 18x. I'm going to leave a little bit of room. Negative 9 plus 72 is going to give us, what, 63? Okay. Step number 3, here's where we actually complete the square. So I'm going to complete the square by adding the square of half the coefficient of my x term. So I'm going to look at 18 over here. Okay, half of 18 is 9. 9 squared is 81. So that's what I'm going to be adding to both sides of my equation. So right now we have x squared plus 18x plus 81 equals 63 plus 81. That's going to give us 144 on the right-hand side. Step number 4, factor. And when we're factoring, we're either going to put it into something that looks like a plus b squared or a minus b squared. So because I see a plus sign right here, I know that it's going to be x plus, and then remember this number that's going to go in this spot right here is whatever we found prior. So that's going to end up just being a 9. So that's what we can add in over here, x plus 9 squared. And if you're ever uncertain, if you're ever not sure that you have the right factoring, you can always FOIL this out and it should get you right back there. Okay, so you don't have to do that. That's just an option if you want to make sure that you FOILed the correct way. Now we're going to use our square root property. So I'm going to get x plus 9. The square root of 144 is 12. We need to take both the positive and the negative. So I have x plus 9 equals positive 12, or x equals 3. And we have x plus 9 equals negative 12. Or x equals negative 21. So your solution set for this is going to be 3 or negative 21. All right, so that is just a refresher from yesterday. That's what our process was. Number 2, again, you guys will do all of the evens. You can either be doing that while I'm talking, if I'm talking too much for you, or you can pause the video, whatever is going to be helpful. All right, we're going to move on to number 3. So we're still using our process. Step number 5 was just solve using the square root property that we talked about yesterday. Moving on here, I'm checking out my first term here. It's just k squared. I don't have to divide by anything. Step 2, I want to bring all my variable terms to one side, so I want to add 20k to both sides. So we get k squared plus 20k. I'm going to leave a little bit of room because I know I need to add something in a second. And that equals negative 64. Now complete the square. So I'm going to add the square of half of the coefficient of my k term. Half of 20 is 10. 10 squared is 100. So that's what we're going to be adding to both sides. Now we're in the rewrite process. So it's going to be k. Again, if that's a plus, this is a plus. Half of 20 was 10. Over here, we're going to end up with positive 36. Let's use our square root property. So we're going to get k plus 10 equals both positive and negative 6. That'll give us 2 equations to solve. K plus 10 equals 6. So k equals negative 4. Or k plus 10 equals negative 6. So k equals negative 16. So your solution set for this one, we're looking at negative 4 and negative 16. Those would be our 2 possible solutions. All right, our next one, here's where it's going to change a little bit. Step number 1 is look at your squared term. Now I do have a number there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to still add over the 18. You'll see why in a second. So I have 7b squared minus 14b equals 21. Now I want to divide both sides of my equation by 7. You're basically dividing every single term by 7, which is going to leave us with b squared minus 2b. I'll leave a little room. I need to add something in a second, and then equals 3. Part of the reason I didn't start dividing everything up here was because 18 is not divisible by 7 and 3 is not divisible by 7. But when I add over the 18, I do get a number that divides nicely. Now, this is not always going to be the case. You guys will have some problems. I'll show you in the next problem where you are just going to have to deal with fractions. We'll get there when we get there. But I can guarantee you guys for number 6, you are going to get some nice numbers. So 6 is going to be very similar to 5 over here. All right, step number 3, complete the square. So I need to add the square of half of our coefficient. So negative 2 divided by 2 gives us negative 1. Negative 1 squared gives us positive 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I get b squared minus 2b plus 1 equals 3 plus 1 or 4. Step 4, you're factoring the side. Because I have a minus sign now, I need to make sure I'm subtracting. And let me actually clarify this step over here. Let's just leave the sign out of things. Sorry, I'm making you guys go back and erase. Just look at that coefficient of 2. The minus we're going to take care of. It is going to show up when we're factoring it. So let's just do 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 squared equals 1. That's what I'm adding here and here. All right. The minus sign, it just shows up in your factoring. So just let it be there. So I'm just subtracting 1, this number that we got up there. All right, so I'm getting b minus 1 squared equals 4, square root, b minus 1 equals positive or negative. The square root of 4 is 2. So b minus 1 could equal positive 2, or b would equal 3. B minus 1 could equal negative 2, or b would equal negative 1. So your solution set for this one, you'd either get 3 or negative 1 as your 2 answers. All right, so 6 is going to be very similar. I'm guaranteeing you guys that you are going to get whole number answers for 6 over there, integer answers. Move over the 90 first, and then divide everything by 4 for that one. For 7, however, I'm going to show you guys a couple examples. These ones, 7, 9, 11, these are definitely trickier examples. 7 and 8, you are going to be dealing with fractions. 9 and 10, you are going to be dealing with complicated solutions, I'm going to call them. 11 and 12, you are going to be dealing with imaginary numbers or complex numbers. So you're going to have I somewhere in your answers. All right, so here's where we're ramping it up today. Start the same way. I'm going to add over my variables. So I have 9x squared minus 18x equals, what's going to give us, negative 8. Okay, but I do have this 9 over here. So now I need to divide everything by 9. That's going to give us x squared minus 2x. Right, that's looking really nice. Over here, though, I do have minus 8 over 9. So you are now dealing with a fraction. All right, complete the square. So I'm going to take my coefficient here, 2. I'm going to cut it in half. That's going to give us 1. 1 squared equals 1. So that's what we are going to add to both sides. So I have x squared minus 2x plus 1 equals, what is negative 8 over 9 plus 1? You guys can either plug that into your calculators or remember that 1 is the same as 9 over 9. We're going to just get 1/9 over there. All right, factor the side with the variables. It's going to turn into x minus 1 squared equals 1/9. Now we want to take the square root. So we're getting x minus 1 on this side. Over here, okay, this side is actually kind of nice. The square root of 1 is just 1. The square root of 9 is just 3. And remember our square root property, I can get both the positive or the negative versions of that. So I have x minus 1 equals 1/3. Plug into your calculators, what's 1/3 plus 1? 4/3 would work. Or you're going to have x minus 1 equals negative 1/3. Plug into your calculators, what is 1 minus 1/3? You're adding over a 1. You should end up with 2/3. So your solution set for this, x could be 2/3 or it could be 4/3. So now we are embarking in, hey, you might have some fractions, all right? Your process is still the same. It just means that when you do this dividing out step, you're going to end up with a fraction over there. All right, so problem 8 is very similar to that one. See what you can do with problem 8. Again, when in doubt, plug into your calculators. They are really going to help you out. All right, folks, we have 2 more left over here. The bell might ring at some point during this video. Sorry. Okay, first step, r squared is just r squared. I don't need to divide by anything, so I just want to add over the 85. So I have r squared plus 10r equals 85 plus 7 is going to give us 92. Now I want to complete the square, so half of 10 is 5. 5 squared is 25, so that's what I'm going to add to both sides, plus 25, plus 25. I now want to factor this side. We're going to get r plus whatever number we found here, 5 squared, equals whatever 92 plus 25 is. That's going to give us, what, 117, I believe. All right, at this point, square root. We have r plus 5 equals positive or negative square root of 117. So here's where, pull out your calculators, is 117 divisible by any perfect squares? I'm literally doing this as we speak. 117 is kind of a weird one. Don't think it's divisible by 4. I don't know, try 9. Okay, 9 works. So we can split this up into positive or negative square root of 9 times the square root of 13. Again, confirm it. 9 times 13 equals 117, so I'm allowed to split this up. We know that the square root of 9 is just 3. So on this side of our equation, we have positive or negative 3 radical 13. So r plus 5 equals positive or negative 3 rad 13. Your last step would be to solve out your 2 equations. So I'll have r plus 5 equals 3 radical 13. I'd want to subtract 5, and I will just make a note here. We tend to like to have our number term first, so I would leave this as minus 5 plus 3 rad 13. That's one of our answer options. And then over here, we would also have r plus 5 equals negative 3 rad 13. When you're subtracting over that 5, you end up with r equals minus 5 minus 3 rad 13. So your 2 solutions for this are minus 5 plus 3 radical 13 or minus 5 minus 3 radical 13. And again, those are complicated. They look messy. We're going to start heading into some messier solutions, especially tomorrow when you guys do the quadratic formula. You're going to see a lot of things that kind of look like this. So 10 is very similar. 10 is going to give you very similar types of answers. Try that one out. See how we do. All right, 11. This one, we're going to have some complex numbers in our final solution. So I want to give you guys just a couple different possibilities. And you guys will have more practice on delta math as well. All right, check your x squared term. It's just an x squared. Don't have to divide by anything. Let me move my 38 over to isolate all of my variable terms. We're going to get negative 42 over there. All right, I want to square the half of the coefficient. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So I have x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals negative 38. I'm going to factor this side, x plus the number that we found earlier, 2. All right, and you can already see I have a negative on the right-hand side. So when I do the square root of a negative is going to turn into something with an I in it. All right, on this side, on our left-hand side, we just have x plus 2. On this side, I have positive or negative square root of negative 38. Remember, you can split that up into square root of 38. I can't simplify 38 any more than that, times square root of negative 1. So really, we're getting positive or negative square root of 38i. Usually, we like to put the I in front. It just helps us remember, hey, the I is outside of that radical symbol. All right, so positive or negative I radical 38 equals x plus 2. We're going to split this into our 2 separate equations. That's going to equal I rad 38, or x plus 2 is going to equal minus I radical 38. Subtract the 2. So x is going to be negative 2 plus I radical 38, or x is going to be negative 2 minus I radical 38. Those are your 2 solutions, negative 2 plus I radical 38 negative 2 minus I, radical 38. And again, these complex numbers, they're not real numbers, but they are solutions, all right? So we would say I have no real solutions, no real number is going to work in this equation, but we can solve and find complex numbers for our answers. So 12 is going to look very similar to that one. At this point, stop the video, try out the evens, or maybe you've been working your way along through them. The solution manual, the answer key is posted with the worksheet, so you can scroll down and check your answers for all of the evens and then head into your Delta Math. Have fun, guys.